The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello and welcome to the Hoop Ball NBA DFS Today podcast. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am joined by one of the sharks out there in the DFS NBA world, Mr. Mike Apotria. How are you tonight, Mike?
Doing pretty good, Coach. You know, I despite having a decent amount of Robert Williams, I'm doing okay. The little
Yeah, that
elbow
was
to
a
the head
tough
kind of hurt me,
break,
but
man.
I still managed to catch a couple of my guys. I had some pretty good plays in my lap. We were talking about a little bit before here,
Yeah.
but it's kind of like one of those things I alluded to at the end of last podcast. Is be careful over these next few days.
Yeah, you do. You have to be. I mean, I was 9-1 in my head-to-heads today. So, like we've said before, you can make a lot of money right now. It's just you got to really, really watch closely because, I mean, what would you say? 10 major guys got scratched this afternoon at least, or maybe more. So, you're right. I mean, there's money to be made, but you do want to manage your bankroll because you don't want to have somebody scratched or take a zero or take a slight elbow like your Williams guy and then not play the rest of the game.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's any like we were talking about, any little stub toe, tight muscle, anything, they're gonna pull them right out immediately. And I'm just gonna go with the strategy going forward, where if I don't hear significant or definitive news of whether a guy's going to be playing or whether he's going to be getting a decent amount of minutes or anything according, I'm just not touching him. It's not worth it. I want to make sure every guy I got in my lineup is going to be an absolute, 20-minute minimum kind of guy.
And I'll tell you, I've been winning, honestly, 50% of my head-to-heads and the small 3 and 5 gamers by, other guys having to take a goose egg on somebody. And then you just, it's just so debilitating when you do that. And I've been lucky. I've only taken one the whole preseason, and that was stupid Torrey Craig. And then he started the next game, by the way, and played 28 minutes just to be more agitating. But yeah, you got to avoid those early on. But we've only got 3 more nights, man. 3 nights of preseason. And then, right now we'll be watching live games next week at this time. So how exciting is that, man?
Yeah, I was just talking about it with one of my buddies. I told you I'm going to be out of the state for a little bit of work. I gotta double check and make sure I can play DFS in that state.
Well, that happened to me when I went to the summer league. I was all fired up, obviously, to fire up the DFS contest going to the summer league games because they had quite a few contests, and I couldn't access it in Nevada. So yeah, you remember because
Yeah.
I had you and Adrian try to put some plays in for me. That was agitating. So yeah, you better double check that. Because they are pretty strict on that. They'll shut it right down.
Yeah, no, I gotta get my contacts in order accordingly, but just double check before I go. Really looking forward
Okay.
to it. We like that first opening night. That's our night,
Oh
our money
yeah,
making night. But like you said, we still have 3 games, and I think
for
we
3 days.
three
Yeah,
days. Yeah,
three
I'm sorry,
days.
3 days. Plenty of games, 3 days. 6 games to talk about tonight, like we
Yep.
always do. We record it the night before, so I think proceed with caution again, and take everything we say with a grain of salt because a lot's going to change from right now until tomorrow.
Well, I agree, and we always record this the night before, so it's Tuesday night, and we're going to be talking about the 6 game slate uh, that's locks at 7 Eastern tomorrow, which is Wednesday, October 16th, and then Thursday there's a 5 game slate, Friday a 6 game slate, and then we have the Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Long weekend off to prepare for the opener on Tuesday. So that'll be fantastic. And, like Mike just said, I think I had mentioned before the show, I did the 3 game slate last night by myself. And, I thought the information was good, but unfortunately, like 25% of the information I shared ended up scratches today. So, my word is, especially in these, I mean, it's important always, but in these next 3 days, when who the hell knows, who the coaches are going to decide to sit at the last second, you got to stay involved with us at Hoopball Fantasy. Search that on Twitter. You can get me at Joe Sarbati, JoeSarvadi, at Mike Apotria, Mikeapotria, and our third guy, Andrew, his is at Language Olympic. Now, the other thing I'm excited to announce today is what was launched is if you go to hoop-ball.com, which is our home base, Hoopball, there is now a forum thread in there that is strictly for DFS. So they're going to be reviewing our shows, updating, sort of summarizing our picks, and then just consistently putting feeds on there of guys that are scratched. They broke the big Celtics benching like 9 million guys today. So stay on that. I would advise that all year, but these next 3 nights for sure. And welcome to, and a shout out to our 2 new guys, Miles and Andy, that are heading up that thread at hoop-ball.com, the DFS thread. So that is great news, isn't it, man?
I love it. Honestly, I said it. I apologize last time. I apologize because it's going to be every night that I can't get to every question on Twitter. And if I can't, just jump in it with these guys. These guys will take care of you. They're good guys. They know their stuff. We wouldn't be putting them in this kind of situation if we didn't trust them with your lineups and your questions as well. So you have many options with us over here, like you said, me, Coach, Andrew, and now we got a few other guys in the wings as well.
Yeah, I mean, this was the final piece that we needed really to be, an all go to, 360 coverage of DFS. You've now got a 24-hour feed there that you can go to and look at any changes or things coming up. You've got 7 days a week of free content, and it's just awesome. And the free content is because of our sponsors, and we're excited that Fantasy Draft is our presenting sponsor. They're the only rake-free fantasy site that's out there, and they are launching a bunch of contests next Tuesday in NBA, so can't wait to get on there, because you can multi-enter positions on Fantasy Draft. You can play a bunch of centers, whatever you want to do, and that's awesome. So support them. This weekend, they've got their big Sunday $500,000 Hooters NFL contest. Just jump on fantasydraft.com, put in the promo code HoopBall, and you get a 7-day free membership up to $1,000 in rake-free events. So thank you to definitely to Fantasy Draft and our home HoopBall that helps us bring all of this forward. All right. 6 games. First game on the docket. Again, it's a 7 Eastern, 6 Central, 4 Pacific lock. It is Detroit-Charlotte, and you, my friend, have the Detroit Pistons.
All right. Well, this is a back-to-back for Detroit. First thing that needs to be taken into account, a lot of their starters were out. We saw Drummond sit, and we saw Blake Griffin sit. So wouldn't shock me if one, if not both of them played. Just knowing that the preseason is coming down to an end, wouldn't expect a dress rehearsal type of game from Detroit, especially with it being a back-to-back. So for me, I'm looking in one spot on this entire team, and it would probably just be in Drummond's way, just because he has been playing a good amount of minutes in the preseason, and just it's a simple thing of the reason why I played Embiid tonight. He didn't light the world on fire, but you'll take 35 points from a guy.
He did well. Yeah, I thought he did well. Yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're looking at salary, I believe it was 9,800 on DraftKings. He put up 35 DK points. If that's the regular season, we're not happy with that. But you'll take 35 because we don't care about salary. At the end of the day, I think I left $7,000 on the table in most of my lineups tonight. So
yeah,
I think that's the only spot I'm really looking. Blake Griffin, he could do it. I'm not going to say cross him off your board or anything, but I would just prefer Drummond over him.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. And I'll tell you, I've said it, like, it's funny because, on Roto Radar and on Hoop Ball and everywhere, everybody keeps saying to me when I was recommending people in lines today is, oh, I don't want to leave 7,000 on the table. I don't want to leave 6,000 on the table. And I keep saying, and I've said this all preseason, salary is irrelevant in these games because everybody's scratched. That's the high value guys pretty much. So you can, just don't even look at it. Take the guys that you think are going to get the big run. Carson Edwards was my 100% lock tonight, and look what he did. He just blew it up. And there were a bunch of people wanting to chase salary and play the most expensive point guards on the slate just because they wanted to eat salary. Don't do it. So these last 3 days, block that out of your mind. Play the guys that are going to log the minutes. Minutes equal money. And once the regular season starts, now, the conversation completely flips. Then it's all about value, high level, mid level, low level value plays, etc. So yes. And it was funny because one of the feeds on Roto Radar, somebody had said that I guess they hadn't caught a lot of the thread, but they said, should I leave $4,000 on the table? And I put in caps. Salary doesn't matter, and I guess I know when you put in caps, it's like you're hollering at somebody. So I felt bad about it, but I was really trying to get my point across because I didn't, it's such a sucker play to just try to plug guys in for money wise. All right, that's my little soapbox thing. I got it out of the way early. I'm with Drummond 100% tomorrow. He's played good minutes in the preseason. I had a real feeling that he may be the guy that would sit tonight with Griffin just because of the minutes he's played. But it is Detroit's final preseason game tomorrow night, and they have a full week off. Casey's made it clear that he thinks Drummond is going to have the most efficient year by actually getting more minutes than he has in past years. So Drummond will be my lock at center tomorrow, and that's where I'm going to end. Too many of the other guys got minutes tonight. I don't see them playing in back-to-backs. Even Christian Wood, who was a great play tonight and a good bargain for me, just coming off so many minutes tonight, I think they'll rotate the Thon makers, and just too many people here that are going to get minutes. So that's it. I'm Drummond and move forward.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go with this. And if you are looking for any Pistons news, go follow Rod Beard on Twitter. He's one of the Pistons beat writers, but this guy is phenomenal. He's one of the coolest guys that there is out there for team beat writers. He actually caters to the DFS community a little bit. So
right.
if you follow him, he was tweeting out before the game who he thought would be viable DFS plays by minutes and price. He even goes on there and looks at prices, and he's a guy that's very, very close to the team.
And say his name again.
It's Rod, R-O-D, Beard, just how you like a beard on your face, just how you'd spell it. Beautiful.
That's simple. Good. I'm going to do that as well. Thank you. And anytime you can find some beat writers like that are especially that have some DFS ties, man, that's like huge. That's big stuff to have, no doubt about it. All right. As far as the Charlotte's side goes, that's going to be interesting deal there because this also ends their preseason tomorrow. So I think some of the younger guys get a little more run together. And I've been on this Rozier and Bacon bandwagon and a little bit of Miles Bridges the whole preseason. And it's done me pretty well. Rozier blew up big this last game prior to this, which was great to see. But I think that those three main guys are going to be guys that'll be in play. Batum has been ruled out, so he's not going to play. So for me, it'll be a little bit of Rozier, Bacon, and Bridges, just like I've done most of the preseason. With a 6-game slate, I certainly won't stack 3 of them. But depending on my build, I could very likely have 2 in cash and 2 of the other 3 in a GPP.
Yeah, for me, I agree with you. It's those guys, and I think I said it last time. I'll throw in PJ Washington as well. He's looking like he has a chance to actually crack this starting lineup. So if they want to
Yeah.
continue to, kind of just see, they have one more game to kind of see if this is if he's going to be their starter, especially with Batum injured, most likely not going to be ready for the start of the season. I definitely think he's in play as well.
So and I read that as well, that he may be the starting four. So does that mean they're going to play Bridges at the three, Rozier, Bacon, Bridges, Washington, and Zeller? Is that what it's looking like?
Yeah, that's what I would assume it being.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they wanted to play him at the three and keep Bridges at the four, but that doesn't make any sense. I mean, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
they're going to go by size for the defensive matchups.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, that's, and again, that might be a strong play too, because if anybody has sort of a dress rehearsal, it's a young team like Charlotte. I mean, Rozier's new to the team. Bacon's elevated now to a starter. Washington's brand new to the team. Bridges didn't start at the beginning of last year. He came off the bench. So really only Zeller's the returning guy. So, I like Charlotte tomorrow. I really do. I think that Detroit will rest a lot of the guys because of the doubleheader. So you got Charlotte at home playing a Detroit team on a back-to-back in their last preseason game. Chalk it up for me.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna. For me, I like this game. Like I said, there's only one guy on the other side of the ball, so if it is gonna be a dress rehearsal game, if we keep an eye on that, you jump all over those games just to get that out of the way now. If we know for a fact that there's gonna be dress rehearsal games, there's gonna be one game I'm gonna hint to pretty closely, where it has a pretty good chance of it. It was kind of mentioned in the past days. I mean, honestly, let's just jump right into it, Coach. I'll just start us off with the Hawks over here.
Sure.
There was a tweet from one of their beat writers. I don't want to butcher the name, but I believe his name is K.L. Chouinard. I could be butchering it. I could be wrong entirely. But it mentioned that before the tip-off 2 days ago, that this game was possibly hinting at being a dress rehearsal for them. It was either going to be this game or the next one, which would be tomorrow's game, Wednesday. So
Nice.
if we look back at what the starters played last game, Trae Young played 24, Collins played 27, Hunter played 24, Len played 13. The next highest guys were Bembry and Parker at 25 and 24 each. Pretty good minutes, but it's by no means a dress rehearsal if you're playing 24 minutes for like Trae Young. So I would imagine, unless we hear the word that they get scratched or that they're sitting, that the starters are going to get some pretty good run in this one.
And that's great insight, man. That definitely brings them into play for me. I know Herter is still out. He's missed pretty much the whole preseason, I guess. The thing that surprised me in the last three games of Trae Young, he had 8, 7, and 9 turnovers. That is alarming. So that is something to keep an eye on, because those negative numbers are not a good thing. But he's still awesome. I'm a big Young fan. Evan Turner is back though, so he's getting a little run there. John Collins is always dangerous. He's just such a great DFS points per minute guy. I'm impressed with Deandre Hunter. Have you seen him play at all?
I watched a couple clips of him. I haven't really got to sit down and watch an entire preseason game of the Hawks yet. Just little snippets of kind of flipping from game to game here and there. But, he looks like he should be their starter. I don't think there's not a question about it. He's very long. He's athletic. He can, he has an all-around game that looks like it's going to fit very well into this kind of team and in the NBA in general.
Absolutely.
For me, though, I mean, my main plays for this would be the two guys that you just said. The main top dogs, Trae Young, John Collins. That's probably the way I'm going to go. I wouldn't really expect too much from anybody else, just because they are deep. You got Evan Turner back. So just go with the guys that are the best point per minute producers, because at the end of the day, if you get DeAndre Hunter and Trae Young playing the same amount of minutes, you're going to want to go with the better point per minute producer, because price isn't our factor.
That's true. And again, the cost thing for sure is in play there. Now, I like Young and Hunter and Collins, especially if they're going to get maybe 28 minutes. I mean, that would be awesome. So I could, I know they're not the guy to ever give you 10% of every good play. But I like all three of those guys, and I'm gonna, again, a lot of it's gonna have to do with who gets scratched in some of these games and how things lay out. But all three of those guys are on my radar. I am super impressed with Hunter, though. I thought coming out of college he was a defensive specialist that had offensive game that needed to develop, but man, he shoots the ball really well and smooth. I think he's going to be a real pleasant surprise. Definitely a all rookie first team possibility with him. So I'm gonna gander at all three of those guys. I'll tell you a guy to keep an eye on as the season comes up, though, too. I just wanted to mention it because I happen to watch Miami Heat. Their beat guy does this little thing where he asks questions to the players when they're doing Pop-A-Shot.
Yeah, I was watching that. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is cool. And they asked him who the toughest person to defend that he's ever played, and he said Cam Reddish, and that surprised me because that's a big statement because he at Kentucky played against everybody good. So that that just brought it to mind that what a talent Reddish could be. And you meant we went long discussion with him last time that he had an injury when he was at Duke, and so that's a guy I've got a circle on because I bet you he's super cheap when the regular season comes around, and I think he'll be a good rotational player, especially with Herter not coming back for a little while, I guess.
Yeah, I mean Reddish, he's a guy that, like we said, we talked about him a little bit. I think the exact the substance of that little quote was the best player that you had to guard in high school. Because I know
was it high school?
It was in high. He actually guarded him in high school.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
Yeah.
I was paying attention to the Pop-A-Shot.
He hit like 121 of them or something.
118.
118 it was.
Yeah, that's great.
I brought it up because I actually, I'm a nerd when it comes to hoop videos. I'm always, watching videos on YouTube, high school videos, college videos, everything. And that's not the first time I've seen top recruits coming out of high school say that Cam Reddish was the hardest guy that they've had to defend because he's an absolute talent. I'm throwing away his whole college season. I'm not counting any of it. It doesn't matter. He was playing on the Stack 2 team. He was playing injured. We've seen guys put up, just minuscule numbers in college and be phenomenal talents in the NBA, and it's generally because they're playing on very, very good teams. I think Karl Anthony Towns, when he was in Kentucky, averaged something like 12-9 or something. And that doesn't, it's not otherworldly, but look where he is now because he was playing on a team with guys like Devin Booker and other stars. So
sure, look at Bam Adebayo's numbers when he was at Kentucky. They're like embarrassing. Yeah. So it just goes to show you.
And I think Hunter might be another product of that. To be honest, go full circle back to him. I think he's a product of that. He played on a very good college team where,
Virginia, right?
Yeah, Virginia. Yeah. And we're talking about a team that won a title. So
they play slow ball too. They're a slow down, use the clock defensive team. Yeah. So that even plays more in his favor,
Yeah, and I think he's what this team needs because they were just a team that would get the pace pushed against them, and they like to push the pace because they knew they couldn't play good defense. And now it gives them another wing that is playing the three that can almost cheat over and help the defender or help Trae Young when he gets blown by because that's going to happen a lot.
Well, everybody made fun of the Suns and the Hawks last year, and now they're two of my favorite NBA ticket games teams to watch. So it goes to show you how fast you can turn it around in the NBA, no doubt about it. All right. The other side of the ball against the Hawks is the Knicks. They do have a lot of guys coming back that were dinged up and out. I guess it looks as though, if I'm not mistaken, I read something that says R.J. Barrett leads preseason in minutes played. So I don't know if that was just part of the plan to really get him acclimated to NBA basketball.
Can I touch on that real quick?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Perfect, because I actually seen a quote today from David Fizdale.
Okay.
Play R.J. Barrett again. Let's just leave it at that. They're going to keep running him big minutes. David Fizdale said he's very young. The kid's a natural. He likes the ball in his hands. This whole team is young, he said. We need to get these boys minutes.
Beautiful.
So I don't think that's stopping anytime soon with RJ Barrett. I wouldn't, it would really shock me if it did. I'm putting my faith into that quote, and I'm going to play him. Sometimes coach speak can go the wrong way, but I think just with what we've seen already, it's bound to happen again. Especially just knowing the exact. You brought up that he leads the preseason in minutes. He actually, I don't remember the year now. I saw it was on the screen. It was a little highlight. He had more preseason minutes played so far average than any player has in like the past however years, like 15
Wow.
or something like that. It was an absurd number, and even this year he's averaging I think 6 or 5 more than any other player.
Jeez. Well, that's, he's the only guy on the Knicks that I'm looking at tomorrow, and that's the reason. I mean, I don't have to go through all the names for the 10th time, but they have like 9 power forwards and centers, and they have plenty of guys there. And I guess Dennis Smith is back in a limited role tomorrow, and you got Elf and all those guys. So to me, it's Knicks, Barrett, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Dennis Smith Jr. thing because he's actually playing for, and that was another thing that Fizdale came out and said that basically the competition is going to come down to the last final 2 preseason games, and now we have Dennis Smith Jr. healthy, so the competition is between him and Elfrid Payton. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see Dennis Smith Jr. Get a little bit more run just because he missed the first 2 games and he's kind of playing for his job right now. So that wouldn't shock me to see him a little. I don't know if I feel completely comfortable like loading up on him. I wouldn't really trust him too much in cash, but I think he makes for a decent GPP flyer.
I think that's smart. I am not a Dennis Smith believer, but I think your reasoning there is real, and it could also play that way for Elfrid Payton too, if the Elf is trying to win that spot. But now I think I'm going to steer clear of that nervousness and just stick with who I know is going to be out there in Barrett.
Yeah, and again, like I said, in cash doesn't make sense. We have 6 games to choose from, plenty of other spots we can go to. But
All
GPP,
right.
if you want to get a low-owned guy, it wouldn't shock me if he's lower-owned just because a lot of people are scared.
Go for it. And now you get the San Antonio Spurs. So if you can ever figure out what Pop's going to do in a regular season game, let alone a preseason game, then you're a winner.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to be that guy, but I'm pretty much good with any Spurs. I just don't think we really need to go there. I don't think anybody has that massive upside for any like GPP that is going to break the slate if you wanted to go with one of the backup guards and hope for it. But now we have every guard on the team completely healthy. We're going to have guys kind of fighting for roster spots. Pop knows who his starting 5 is. He knows who his rotation is already because it's pretty much the same guys that were there last year.
Exactly. And it's easy for me too. I refuse to throw a dart at this dartboard and try to take a guess at who's going to get, a bunch of minutes or if anybody gets a bunch of minutes. So it's a simple pass for me.
Yeah, I'm not expecting a ton of guys to sit just because we did see a few of their stars kind of rest last game or on Sunday.
Yeah.
But again, I wouldn't expect more than 22 minutes from any of them. And with the other names we have on the board, I'd rather take 22 minutes from another one.
I'm with you, man. Over to the other side of the ball, the Houston Rockets. It's watching James Harden play this preseason has been crazy, and the amount of minutes and production has been nuts. But you got to think that and I know you mentioned it or the very first game of the preseason, and you were dead on. D'Antoni is known for running his guys out there a lot in preseason, but I think I got to pass on Harden tomorrow. I just can't stomach the thought of the fact that he's going to get enough time. And I know his production is totally insane, but Westbrook's back into the mix. So I don't think I'm going to go there. The guy that I think I may go to here, and it's weird, but I think I may go to Daniel House. And my reason being is, I think the guy can play. I think he can produce and get a decent run here. Gerald Green, he was splitting time with at the 3, and obviously Gordon plays there a lot too. But House and Green were getting a ton of minutes. Green broke his foot, and it looks like he may miss the whole year. So, for the flyer guy, the low price guy that can throw 25 fantasy points to make your lineup go well. Again, we don't have to look for huge value like regular season, but House would be my wild card guy for this team. I also like Clint Capella. I think again, you hate to target a team when they're playing against the Spurs, but Capella's a quite a bit high on the list of DFS points per minute. And with Westbrook and Harden, feed them the ball, I think you got to consider him. So Capella will make some of my lineups. Again, it's hard when you're, can't play that many centers, but he and then House as a wild card for me.
So I can't probably with a conscious mind steer clear of James Harden if we know he's playing. Regardless,
I know
if he plays 20 minutes, I'd still take him. Again, we're not worried about price tag. So at the end of the day, 20 minutes of James Harden or 20 minutes of anybody else, it's give me James Harden. I might even play him and Westbrook if we just because of how poor Westbrook's been playing. At the end of the day, the reason why D'Antoni plays these guys so many minutes in the preseason is because they're usually bringing in a new piece or getting rid of a big piece every single year. So it's to build that continuity. And when he sees Westbrook struggling to play alongside of James Harden, you want to work these kinks out as fast as possible before the regular season comes. So for that reason alone, I'm interested in playing both of them. James Harden, obviously, I like more. He's the guy I would play first. I like that you brought up Daniel House. Played 28 minutes last preseason game, and that was with Gerald Green playing 19. So he actually led the team in minutes last game.
Yeah.
So he's another guy we could definitely look at. And, just knowing that he played his 28 and Green's 19 was still out there, I think if I don't feel like saying this with confidence, and I'm not recommending it, but for a low-owned GPP guy, Ben McLemore should see extended run. He played 13 minutes last game. He should be able to take some of those minutes from Gerald Green. If I would say at least probably looking at 18, 20 minutes is the most random flyer as possible.
Yeah, that's a good contrarian play. Nothing wrong with it. I'll tell you though. Excuse me, big sneeze. Harden is amazing. I've had a phenomenal preseason. I've gotten lucky in spots. I've gotten some great guys in there. I mean, we're through tonight, 11 games in. I've gone 10-1 on a profit, 10 wins, 1 loss. So, that's pretty damn good. But I did have a fade of Zion when he had a million dunks, and I faded Curry that night when he dropped 40. And I continued my streak of fading one superstar. Last night was Luka Doncic. So it's not like I haven't taken some gut punches and survived.
You know what, then? For the sake of all of us, can you fade James Harden for us tomorrow? Would that be too much to ask?
That would be my fourth superstar fade. And can you imagine if I didn't fade those guys? Oh, my God, I'd be doing even better. So I don't know, dude. I may buckle under. His ownership is going to be retarded. I think in the one contest I was in last time, honest to God, he was 86% owned. How is that possible? It's just ridiculous. Yeah, unbelievable. So we'll see how that flows. I'll probably chicken out and end up putting them in there. But for right now, I'm going to try to keep my superstar streak alive.
Well, I think it's a good way to go just because we don't have a lot of. He's definitely going to be high owned. I expect him owned in just about, I would say about probably close to that 80-something percent, 84%, 80%.
And he certainly deserves it. I mean, what the heck?
There's not a lot of other guys on this slate that can get what he can get in 20 minutes if they had 30. So
yeah, there's no doubt. All right, man, let's go to game 4. Memphis Grizz, you want to take the driver's seat on this one?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Grizzlies are. I'm like a fanboy now. I'm
you're
gonna have them on League Pass.
You're a Grizz guy.
I love this team. I love the youth. I love just like the defensive prowess that they all bring, the length. So I'm gonna go with the defensive guys again. I'm gonna look at the Brandon Clarks. Jaren Jackson Jr. got screamed at on the sideline for missing a few key defensive switches last game, so he kind of got chewed on a little bit and got into a little foul trouble. So he got pulled pretty early. But that's probably a large reason why Clark absolutely had a fantastic game. He's a great player anyway. He can do that regardless, but it helps when Jaren Jackson's off the court. So I definitely think he's in play. I think Jackson is in play. I also like Morant. I'm still waiting for Caboclo to get some minutes, man. I don't know if they're just not playing him because he's solidified or if they're G Leaguing him, but
I don't think he's that good. I got to be honest with you. I mean, I watched him in. I initially liked him at the end of last year, but then I watched him in the summer league, and he was not special to me at all. I think he was just average.
I think he's there's places for that though. He's not an elite scorer. He's not an elite defender, but he's definitely a guy for as far as fantasy you'll be very interested in because he will hit threes, he will get blocks, he will get steals, and he will board. So he's like a poor man's Jonathan Isaac, if you ask me.
All right. Well, I am going to find a guy on the slate that I can go up against Caboclo tomorrow.
Because if that's the case, then when you got your Torrey Craig 0, I would have won that with my Mo Harkless against them.
I knew to pass on that sucker. we haven't butted heads on picks here in quite some time.
Well, then why don't you pick someone to go against James Harden then, huh?
Yeah, right. Exactly. That is a hard pass for me.
All right. Well, that's kind of where I'm at with those guys, though. I mean, Morant and Clark, I think are probably my two favorite plays. Jaren Jackson Jr. is obviously in there as well. But for everybody else, I kind of just take a hard pass.
Yeah, I am not as high on the Grizz as you. I know this is one of your big teams, and I do like some of the young pieces, no doubt about it. I think the fact that they were able to land Ja Morant and Brandon Clark in the same draft is going to make their next 10 years. I think Clark, again, as I've stated, like on every show, I mean, he was the MVP of the summer league, and he was absolutely out of his mind, and it's carried over into the preseason, and he's going to play a monster role, especially with Joe Val, coming along. He's supposedly trying to be ready for opening night, but regardless if he is or not, Brandon Clark is a major rotation piece there, and for that, you always have to keep him in play. But the only guy I like in this game is Ja Morant. I think he'll get a little bit more extended run, and I think that he's starting to feel a little bit more comfortable. The last game, it seemed like he was a little bit more of a groove. But, it's the same story with all of the young rookie and second-year point guards. Turnovers are always a big problem. That's just they're getting used to the speed of NBA players. All those passes that they've always made at every other level are getting, picked off or deflected, and it just takes lots of games, probably 100 games or so until you see these guys usually flip the switch. But I'm willing to roll the dice on Ja tomorrow. I think that Houston's pace up now that they don't do the Harden 90 dribbles anymore. I'm sorry, the Thunder. I'm talking about they're playing. But the Thunder, with some of the guys that they're putting in the fastest paced team, but enough that they're getting up and down the floor. They have a few guys that will run the lanes, and I think that'll give Ja a chance to work some magic against them.
Yeah, and I think if we'll just go straight to the other side of the ball, you brought it up. They are going to be playing a pretty fast pace. They're also going to have most of their starters back as well because a lot of them rested on Monday against the Mavs. So I'm expecting a little bit of a tougher defense than they normally would have. Maybe now we kind of pivot away from SGA, just knowing that he's been just crushing it this preseason.
Yeah, he's been the only guy out there. That's why some of the time. Yeah.
Well, exactly, and that's the reasoning for me to kind of just get away from it. I know that if he's going to be high owned, just because of his recent performances, and that they're going to have Chris Paul back. For me, that's the reason just to kind of take that pivot. Not saying he can have a bad game. I still think he's going to have a fairly productive game. But if I can get an edge, if he ends up being 50, 60% owned, I want to take it.
Let me guess, you're going to Steven Adams.
Honestly, I'm not too in love with anybody from this
What?
game. I mean, I do like Adams and I do like Paul. Those are the only two guys I would play. And I'm expecting about 22 to 24 minutes from each one of them. But again, when you're looking at the slate and I know on FanDuel, you get your one center spot. So
I know.
on DK, it makes more sense for me to kind of get a little bit of Adams love just because I always like to play two centers on DK in preseason.
Me too. And Adams is my third recommended center. That seems to be my theme this preseason. But I like Adams. He had the rest game. I don't think anybody, with Joe Val out, especially from Memphis, can check him. I think that the 20-24 minutes he gets, I think he'll smash rebounds, and I just he's going to make the rotational lineup with the other two centers that I'll play in some GPPs. And for the exact reason you mentioned with SGA, I'm going to fade him. I've ridden him a lot this preseason, and he's come through every night, and he's been great. But I think they'll let the gas pedal up on him a little bit with some of the other guys back and playing. So that's really all I've got for the Thunder. Do you have anything else with them?
Nope. I'm pretty much on the same boat as you, ready to move on to this very, very unappealing game.
Yeah, I know it's ugly. So let's take a quick second here, real quickly, to mention our presenting sponsor again in Fantasy Draft. Again, they are the backbone, along with Hoopball and our wizard behind the drapes, Dan Besbris, to really get this show together and out there every day. And so we thank Fantasy Draft and really looking forward to their opening night in the NBA next Tuesday. Definitely go to fantasydraft.com and sign up with the promo code HoopBall, all one word. And as far as talking about the podcast and getting it out there every day, we're 7 days a week. You can find us anywhere podcasts can be found: iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean, iHeart, Spotify, YouTube, across the board. It's out there. You can find us. We've had a big jump in YouTube people getting in there. So on YouTube, subscribe and hit that thumbs up. On some of the other places like iTunes, give us the 5 stars. Any positive comments, all of that stuff adds up and means a lot to us. It helps keep our sponsors happy and allows us to continue to bring you what I believe is the best free NBA DFS 7-day content in the industry. So, stick with us on these. If you have some time in this weekend, specifically with 3 days off before the start of the season, just jump on one of those podcast locations and look up our preseason shows. We did specifically a 3-part series on where we went over every team and almost every player in the league as far as DFS and NBA as far as their role and where we felt that who was going to step up and who was going to regress and that kind of thing. So catch up on that stuff. Keep supporting us there. We really, really appreciate it. And, so I don't forget at the end, the biggest thing today was the launch at hoop-ball.com for our DFS forum. That is up. That DFS thread will be updated constantly. Our guys, Miles and Andy, are really working hard to bring you that information. And the continuity of this show coming out in the morning so you can listen to it on the way to work, at lunch, whenever you get a break, and then being able, to bumper that with jumping on our forums and then jumping on Twitter to follow us for any of those changes should really give you the best advantage going into the slates. And it's going to get really, a lot different. We haven't faced any big slates. I mean, we're going to be staring 12 and 14 game slates right in the eye, and that can be a little bit intimidating if you don't sort of spread it out and listen to what you need to and look at the changes, and that really helps, because if you're trying to smash a lineup in last minute and trying to just listen to some of the touts, that are giving you 8% of every 75% owned person, it's not going to work. So that's where we are, man. That's it. Anything you have to add on any of that other stuff?
No, I think you just said it, man. It was a mouthful, but you got it. No, I think we're ready just to talk about this unappealing game. Like I said, it's Portland versus Utah. It's Utah's final game of the season. That's one thing that we need to keep in mind. So, if there's a reason for them to kind of give their guys any extended run, we'll see it here. Or if there's a reason that they just want to kind of get their backups in it, we'll see it. So that's kind of one of the things I'm looking at. And then also that Portland is on the first leg of a back-to-back. So they're going to actually be playing a back-to-back and playing Thursday night as well. So two major things that we should focus on going into the game. But otherwise, I'm not expecting anybody in this game to really play more than 24 minutes, 22 minutes, absolutely tops. Portland's been notoriously known for kind of easing back on their starters during the preseason, and I would kind of anticipate that going forward as well. And we just know that a lot of these guys on the Jazz played for FIBA, so it's kind of my main reason to fade them most of the preseason.
I'm with you 1,000,000%. This is such a monster pass game for me. I mean, your point of Portland playing a back-to-back with tomorrow and then the following day it makes it a tremendous crapshoot on who's going to play. So you can't trust that. The Utah guys, I mean, Jokic just looked awful in the preseason. He looked so uninspired and, just slow. I wouldn't trust his effort until they tap it up for real.
Confusing Denver and Utah just now, Coach.
Oh, did I really? Okay.
Nah, you're good. Gobert.
Sorry. Gobert is who I was. Gobert. You're right. So no, I don't feel that way about Gobert. That's a Jokic take, and he's not on this card. He's on tomorrow night against Portland. So I'm looking at the second game of the back-to-back for Portland. But no, Utah again, same thing. They do have a lot of FIBA guys as well, like you mentioned. With everybody from Bogdanovich to Ingles to Gobert. So they've really taken it easy in the preseason. I don't like either one of these teams at all, and it's a complete scratch for me.
Yeah, I mean, the one guy I think is Anthony Simons, just because I think his role is going to be safe no matter what. He should play solid minutes, but again, I don't think we really need to go there. So I think we're ready to just talk about the late game hammer. Coach, I got to hear your take on what you're doing with LA.
Well, the weird thing is this, I mentioned it the other day. This is the second of the 3 consecutive games with Golden State and LA. So it's like, what? And, it's so bizarre trying to figure out what's what here. Actually, I have a stronger take on Golden State, if you don't mind. Let me touch on that one first, because I want to play Draymond. I wanted to play him the last time, and he got scratched. Curry's scratched, so I like Draymond in this game. He's had a quiet preseason, and I just like him stepping up, and he's going to be pretty much a plug and play for me tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have some interest in Draymond. I think this is actually, if D'Angelo Russell's going to have a good preseason game, it's got to be now with Steph Curry already ruled out. So, first thing that we probably should have mentioned, Curry has already been ruled out for this game.
Yep.
He's not playing. So, that's a ton of usage. That's a ton of shots. We know that he's going to be the focal point of their offense, and besides him, it's pretty much Russell. So, I think those two guys should be your primary focuses.
Yep.
And then you got Marquis Chris, who's still kind of competing for his role. Really came out. We talked about him last show. He really came out and started. So I'm fine with rolling out whoever the starting center is. And if you wanted to pivot off Chris and look at Spellman, it's an option. But for me, it's going to be Chris, Russell, Green, and then, random GPP flyer like Spellman and McKinney would be okay as well, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm all about, Draymond, and Russell's my backup selection there. I like him in that game. Those are the only two guys I'll touch. And then I'll let you lead off. I want to get your take on LA. I'm not gonna. I want to. Because I got a feeling. I know who you're gonna recommend here. I just want to see if I'm right.
You think I'm going to say JaVale McGee, don't you, Coach?
No, I'm not. And that's a funny joke, but no, I did not think it was McGee.
Well, I mean, it's a big thing, like you mentioned. This team playing the same team, basically, 4 times in one preseason is just out of control.
Ridiculous.
3 times in 4 or 5 days. So they do play on Wednesday, but then they don't play them again until Friday. So it's not like it's a back to back. So I'm not in fear of too many guys in their minutes necessarily. We saw a bunch of them sit last game.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a news to monitor situation. I wouldn't expect Davis to play after the thumb injury. I think that's going to open up more minutes for the guards. And I'd be looking at guys like Caruso, Norville. That guy Norville. I don't know much about him, Coach. Maybe there's something you could tell me about him. If he's going to get run and he's going to get minutes, I think we have to keep an eye on him. I feel more comfortable, obviously, with Alex Caruso as a player, just knowing what he can do.
Yeah.
But he came out there and played 33 minutes in their preseason game last time. 22 points, 4 boards, 1 assist. So if we hear that a couple of these main stars are going to be sitting again and then they're just going to play him in Friday's game, I'd feel a lot better about Norvell. If we hear that LeBron's playing and a couple other guys, I think that we're going to be looking at more of starter rotations, and I would be looking at Caruso. And then I'd be foolish to not mention my guy JaVale McGee. That's why I brought up the joke. Again, just because he only played 17 minutes last game, but 11 points, 5 boards, 1 assist, 3 blocks. That's enough. But it would only be in DraftKings where you could play more than one center. I think in FanDuel we have a few other center options, so he's definitely not close to my number one option. But he's in play.
Yeah. Well, I thought you were gonna go to LeBron here, so I was wrong.
I wasn't even gonna I wasn't gonna not even mention LeBron. I think if we know LeBron James is in play, you start your lineups pretty much with LeBron James and with James Harden for me. Well, if we hear he's playing, it's just that simple.
I would be so disappointed if he doesn't play. It'd sort of be ridiculous. He hasn't played at all, and he's healthy. So you would think they want to get him some timing. LeBron is my guy in this game until I hear he's not playing. I'm sticking with him. Again, I think that he'll get in there and get good minutes. Now, I watched all of that painful game, the last game, and watching poor David Stockton try. I mean, he ended up somehow with 10 and 7, which I don't know how, but he was so bad they cut him last night already. He didn't even make it to the last couple of preseason games. That's how bad he was. But with that being said, your Caruso has to come into some play there. I mean, they just don't have that many point guards that are going to play unless they're firing up Rondo in this game. So, I don't know. I'm only going LeBron James here. I can tell you that Zack Norville Jr. played really, really good in the summer league. He did catch notice. My son and I mentioned him. I mentioned him the show. If you remember when we did the guys I sort of had ranked that played well in summer league, and he was one of the guys I listed because he's a lefty sharpshooter guy that just seems to have a nose for the ball. But man, it's just he screams sucker play, chase, that a guy that's going to, throw 7-8 points on the board. So I'm probably not going there. I'm LeBron or bust. I don't want anything to do with any of the bigs. I just think there's too much rotation right now. And you don't need, a guy like Demetrius Jackson's trying to make the team, and, he's talented, but with salary not being an option or problem or issue, I'm not going to go there. So that's it for me, big fella.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I said. I think LeBron James is going to dictate this whole game and matchup and who we're playing, because if LeBron's playing, we have a better idea that they're going to be going with more of like an actual game rotation where you'd see guys like Norvell and Dwight Howard take a back seat because they're going to be worrying about getting their actual guys in the rotation minutes. But for some reason he sits again, which I would be shocked if he does, and just plays on Friday, and they decide to do that as their small little dress rehearsal kind of game. Then that's when I would look at guys like Norvell, because then I think we could see the guys that aren't expected much rotation run, get their run just because there's no point to play too many of the starters. And not to mention the good play for LeBron is small forward's ugly. You know, there's only basically like one or maybe two other options we'd really be interested in. So I think that LeBron just paying up for that small forward, locking it in, knowing what you're getting from him is a really good way to go.
All right, man. That sounds like the deal. That's it. 6 games in the books, and good to go. And then tomorrow night, we're on again tomorrow, right?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, cool.
You can't get rid of me. I'm here,
We're
Coach.
winding it down, man.
I heard you. I hear your jabs this morning. So,
No.
I listened to the show on my way to work. I heard the jabs.
Oh, Dan must have edited those in. I didn't say any of that stuff.
It's got to be the guy behind the curtain.
Yeah.
You know, blame the guy behind the curtain.
He's sabotaging the whole thing, man.
That's all right. One of these days you'll have to take a day off, and I'll be solo, and then I'm going to be running wild.
Uh-oh.
All the war stories are going to be coming out. So.
Oh no.
But I'm looking forward to the regular season. I'm looking forward to tonight. I think this is going to be a fun slate. Just monitor your news, guys. Make sure you keep it updated. I try to get to the questions. I try to retweet any beat writers I see posting anything. So, keep your eye on that kind of stuff. Keep your eye on Coach and go into the forums. It's a new thing that we have. Use it. Take advantage of it. It is just an amazing tool that we're giving you guys. So use it.
Go after it. Perfect stuff, man. Well, good. Well, that wraps it up for tonight. So, thank you for joining us on Hoopball NBA DFS today. For my man, Mike Apotria, I'm Coach. We'll catch you again tomorrow when we look to crush it in NBA DFS. Good night.
Take care, guys.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.